Well, hello, General Hospital Daily Recap fans. Today's daily recap is for Friday, November the 7th, 2025. Today, to me, everybody, was like a filler episode. Nothing major happened, but look, something great happened all week. So I could give them this filler episode today because I've been thoroughly pleased with General Hospital. So let me just go and talk about the breakdown on what did happen. Jack goes to Laura's office to tell her that she's going to be out of commissioner, chief commissioner, police commissioner, because he got a voicemail from Anna saying the WSB reactivated her and is sending her on an op. And I don't know if or when or if she's going to return. What kind of crap was that? Or if? What? Now Laura's like, you've got to be kidding me. I know Anna. She wouldn't just up and leave like that without telling me. She's got a whole, there are procedures when you're going to take a leave of absence as the police commissioner. He goes, well, apparently time was of the essence and she took the assignment. I'm just letting you know. So Laura was real skeptical, and I'm telling you, everybody, I was skeptical. Now, yes, at the end of yesterday's episode or somewhere towards the end, we heard Jack take a voice recorded call because of the voicemail from Anna. Didn't say what, they didn't let us hear the recording. But I'm sorry, just the way it said, "Hello, Jack, this is Anna." To me, I thought that doesn't sound like Anna. That sounds like yes, her voice, but it sounds like it's been AI'd, right? That no, that's not an authentic message from Anna. So Laura goes to Bobby's and she sees Emma there. Emma sitting at the table. She was talking to Charlotte, and then Charlotte's mother came, and Charlotte and Lulu started talking. And anyway, she says, Emma, a question for you. Have you heard from your grandmother? And Emma looked at her and said, oh, yeah, I got a voicemail from her this morning. She's going on some WSB operation, top secret. Um, so yeah, I heard from her. And so Laura said, okay, I heard the same thing. All right, I was just double checking. Now, do you see how common knowledge WSB is? Her Anna's family knows she's WSB, even friends now, reactivated into some top secret op. But yet Jocelyn can't let anybody know she's in the WSB. Well, of course, right now she's actively in an operation in Port Charles, so I could see that, right? But no, there is no, you can never ever tell your family you're WSB. Everybody knew Frisco was WSB. Everybody knew Robert was WSB. Everybody knows when their friends and family are WSB on General Hospital. They're supposed to be a worldwide branch of the stink of I ain't gonna say that word before. A worldwide branch, almost like higher than the FBI. Okay. So anyway, I just kind of shook my head as to, and Brennan, you don't know where she's going? You haven't called your superior and said, I think it's mighty strange that after you are blackballing Anna Devane, you've called her, you've reactivated her and sent her on a mission? Because you wouldn't know what her superiors would say, no. What mission? That's what's kind of crazy to me. Now, one thing is for absolute sure. Brennan is not working with Sidwell. Brennan isn't even thinking clearly or to me long term where Sidwell's concerned. He's like, we have got to get Jen Sidwell at all costs. Jax, you got to get in there. You got to do this, that. No, he is just really ordering away, right? And Jocelyn was saying that Marco, because Jocelyn was at the apartment talking to Lucas, he was going to make her breakfast, and Marco comes knocking at the door, pretty much announcing right there in the door frame that he wants Lucas to move in with him, and he feels it's time. And Lucas says, "Oh, you know what? I would like to discuss this with you, but just not in front of my niece." And Jocelyn peeks around the door and says, "Hi, Marco." And he goes, "Oh, hi, I'm sorry. I didn't know anybody was here." And I'm thinking, you didn't ask either. That ain't Lucas's place. Ava could have been there, right? So anyway, Jocelyn says, "Hey, don't listen." No, Lucas says, "Jocelyn and I were just gonna have breakfast." And Jocelyn says, no, you know what? I just remembered I have something I need to do. She made it like, okay, look, I'm gonna get scarce because you two got something important to talk about, like a good little niece would. So Lucas was like, "Oh, and Jocelyn, she goes, don't worry, I won't say anything to anybody." And he goes, "Thank you." So she leaves and goes right back to Jack. It tells him that Marco's asked Lucas to move in. She doesn't know if Lucas is going to accept. But, that's the deal. And Brennan is like, you need to encourage him to accept because we need an in into Windermere and an in into Sidwell. And this is the perfect opportunity, right? So she's like, she's going to do as she's told, whatever. Okay. Now back to Emma, what she was talking to Charlotte was, how Dalton now has Britt as an assistant and he's changed it from a master key to a key fob. And she's like, and I missed my opportunity to get in now with this key fob situation. And Charlotte said, well, there has to be a way. And Britt had just come downstairs. And she had the key fob on her key ring and she was twirling it around talking on the phone. Uh, to either Dalton or whoever. She's saying, look, oh, I won't be in the lab today because we got the election tonight and the campus is going to be crawling with people and parking is going to be a nightmare. So I will see you tomorrow night, right? And she's twirling the key fob. And Emma looks at her doing it, and Charlotte looks and sees the key fob. And Emma says, I've got to somehow get that key fob. So she walks over to Britt and she says, Britt, no, Britt orders her coffee to go. And Emma says, oh, that coffee, she's telling the waitress, is on me. And Britt looks at her and said, really? And she says, yes, I really want to talk to you, Britt, because I want to apologize. So they sit down and she says, apologize for what? She says, for the way I talked to you in Professor Dalton's office. I was way out of line. It was very unprofessional. She says, but I saw you there and it's like I reverted back to my younger self. And I apologize because bottom line, I'm older now. And I shouldn't let my emotions get in the way of my job. So I'm looking very forward to working. And she's glancing at Britt's bag, even like, girl, how you gonna get your hand in there? Right? I'm looking very forward to working with you and Professor Dalton. And Britt says, well, apologies accepted or whatever she said. And then she says, but Emma, you've got the wrong idea. You will never be working with me and Professor Dalton in the lab. She said, you won't be working anywhere near that lab. And Emma just looked at her. Because with Britt saying, like, look, you could be his assistant filing his papers, but no, 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 you don't, right? So Britt leaves. And when Laura comes in, hugs them both, after she talks to Emma and finds out Emma got the same message from Anna, she goes over to the table and says, my goodness, my two favorite girls here. And Charlotte says, oh, you can have my seat, Grandma. I'm going to go talk to Emma. So Charlotte goes back to Emma, and Emma's like, oh my God, I was so close to that key fob, and I let it get away again. And when she said that, I thought, how delusional are you, girl? You were nowhere near close to getting your hand in Britt's bag and getting a hold of that key fob. You would have to have accidentally knocked over the chair her purse was sitting in, the key fob fly out of that purse, and Britt not notice it. That's the only way you could have ever come close to it, Emma. So Charlotte says, don't worry about it, Emma. I'm gonna get that key fob. She goes, there'll be another chance. And Emma says, no, it has to be tonight. With everything going on, tonight is the night, see? And so Charlotte said, oh, leave it to me. I'll get you that key fob. Charlotte is getting herself mixed up into this. Okay, little bug flying around here. Into this. And okay, it's gonna be some interesting trouble for the teens, Charlotte, Rocco, um, and Emma and Jill. I think the only one not gonna be in trouble is Danny. You know, that's the only one because Danny really hasn't been in the loop with any of this. So the next thing is Sidwell's talking to Ava, and he's trying to pump Ava for some information. He says, there's another reason that I wanted to see you aside from purchasing a lovely work of art from you. But I want to talk to you and get some information on Sonny Corinthos. And Ava looks at him. She says, well, there really isn't anything that I could tell you about Sonny. And right now, Sonny and our relationship is amicable at best. We've had some, he goes, yeah, but I understand there have been times when it hasn't been. She goes, oh, we've had some ups and we've had some downs. She says, right now, things are going very well with me and Sonny's relationship regarding our daughter, Avery. I'm surprised they even mentioned Avery. I haven't seen that poor little girl in about a year, right? I haven't seen her at all. So he says, I just, want to know. I mean, like, what makes him tick? She says, well, I could tell you what will make him tick or tick him off. If you feel, or if he feels that you are a threat to his children. She said, like Charlie's going up in smoke. And his daughter Christina could have been killed. And Sidwell says, that was truly unfortunate. But she goes, I'm not saying you had anything to do with it. But Sonny thinks you did. That's all that matters or counts in Sonny's eyes. She says it doesn't take a brain surgeon that within hours of that fire, your son Marco came up missing. And Sidwell looked at her. Now, he didn't say, yes, Sonny took my son. He just looked at her. She says, so now one thing I do know, Marco was returned relatively but unharmed. Okay. But I'm saying things can definitely escalate and will escalate if Sonny feels that you are coming after him through his children. And he goes, I assure you that is not the case. Poor Charles needs to be rid of Sonny Corinthos and his criminal element. That's my only concern. And Ava just looks at him like, yeah, cry me a river. Ava's not stupid, right? She goes, okay. So she kind of turns the attention back to Art and she goes, I feel this piece will look great on you know, the landing above the stairs, blah, blah, blah. And so he pretty much sees her out and he's thinking, okay. Now the vote for Measure C is tonight. Laura was talking to Lulu, saying that pretty much the voters are split down the center, and it's tight. And Ezra Boyle, it could go either way. And Lulu says, "Yeah, I know, Mom, because your involvement with Sonny." And Laura just looked like Sonny's family. She just looked at Lulu, right? So she says, I mean, because you could have a bigger lead. And she goes, you know what, Lulu? I just have to work really hard tonight in my final speech to convince the voters. And I thought, well, it's a little late tonight. If the voting is today, the voting must be tomorrow. Because in order for them to hear your speech tonight to make a difference, people must be voting tomorrow, which I really think it is. So why Britt said that the campus was going, maybe because of this, the rally or whatever, the political rally. Maybe that's why the campus is going to be so busy because the voting would have to be the next day. And the way soap opera land is, it'll probably be Tuesday because most voting is done on Tuesdays, right? Pretty much all major voting is. So anyway, we shall see what's going to happen there. And I honestly don't care. But one thing I do like is Jason came walking into Sonny's house and Sonny said, is it done? And Jason says, yep, everything is all done. He says, we now own the Rochester Piers. Sonny said, good. Jason said, and those piers, we will seamlessly be able to move our operations from if because Sonny says, because if it doesn't go my way, maybe he said tomorrow, then we need to be able to pivot and move our operation right over to the new piers. And Jason says, and it'll be seamless. He says, Sonny, actually, those piers are really good piers. And he goes, no, I know, but it's an alternative until I could get rid of Sidwell. He says, but here's the thing. If the peers go to the state or the city with eminent domain, then they don't go to Sidwell. Sidwell's going to have to try to get them from the city, which look, with Drew in his back pocket, right? And Jason says, well, that won't be too difficult for him. He said, with a congressman in his back pocket, and if Boyle or Doyle Could care less what his real name is. Could be Hoyle for all I know. But no, it's Doyle or Boyle. If Doyle gets it, he'll have the senator and he'll have the mayor in his back pocket. He will do some maneuvering and he will get those peers. Sonny says, we have to figure out what is that man moving? What is he trafficking? And Jason says, look, all I've been able to find out, Sonny, is precious minerals. Now, yes, some of them can be dangerous. He said, but no, for the most part, he goes, that's it. Even brick has come up against the wall. That's all we can find out that he will be bringing through those piers. Sonny's like, okay, no, there's more. There's something. We just really gotta find out what it is. And I'm like, you've been saying that for almost a year now. You gotta find out what Sidwell's up to. You haven't done jack. So then Jason says, look, you want to know the easiest solution, Sonny? And we need to do it now. Let me take the shot. I could end Sidwell with one shot. And it's done. As Sonny says, it's not that easy, Jason. I've got 88 Turner breathing down my neck, looking for me to make any move. Okay? Just like she's spending all her time looking at me, the WSB is spending all their time looking at Sidwell. He says there's too many active eyes on the situation, on either me or Sidwell, for us to take him out and it go undetected. He says, now, if Sidwell comes up dead, Marco Rios is going to go crying that I killed his father. And we all know Lucas is like a live wire. Lucas was running to the cops when we kidnapped Marco. He says, I don't like it when family gets too intertwined into things. He says, now Lucas and I used to be family when I was married to Carly, but Carly and I are still family, and that's her brother. And I would hate to have to silence Lucas. And Jason just looked at him like, okay. He says, and then he said something else and how it will bring attention, and he can't have that kind of attention, on them. So Jason says, okay, so then it's Sidwell, taking Sidwell out is off the table. Then, Sonny, we've got to really find out what he's done. I'm thinking, y'all just keep saying that. The best thing you did was ready to move your base of operation on a dime, which is incredibly smart. Incredibly smart. So we shall see how that goes, 100%. Now, we've got Lucas. Of course, he absolutely said, yes, he'll move in. But he told Marco his worries. He said, I moved really fast with Brad this last time. And I don't want to move too fast with you, Marco. And Marco goes, I'm not Brad. And I thought, oh, you're worse, baby boy. You're worse. Now you're actually having criminal talks with your father about his criminal doings, and not as a lawyer. You're talking to him like you his business partner. For somebody to be so squeaky clean, right? You're worse than Brad. And he goes, no, I'm telling you, I am nothing like Brad. I love you, Lucas. Lucas is like, you what? You love. Remember when Sonny when Lucas was all on the Sonny stole Mark, took Marco, Sonny kidnapped Marco, Sonny abducted Marco. Remember what Lucas said? Yes, his father may have, because anybody would know that that was Sidwell sending a message to Sonny about Charlie's. And he was saying, that's what happens to family in Sonny's world. They get hurt. Sidwell may have done this, but that has nothing to do with Marco. Marco is his lawyer and only on his legitimate businesses. Because Carly said, Jen Sidwell kidnapped Sasha Corbin at gunpoint. I was there. Jen Sidwell held Lucky captive and was going to kill him. And he tried to kill Jason and Anna. He is, Marco's not his father. How quickly they forget everybody. Because Lucas is moving into the man's house. Yet he has the nerve to condemn anybody for being close to Sonny. I just shook my head. I thought, what a stinking hypocrite. And you deserve every bit of what Peacoat Pascal. I haven't figured out a I haven't figured out a nickname for Pascal yet, right? Wait till Pascal gets a hold of you. So anyway, let's go to, I think I've pretty much covered everything with the exception of, oh, let me talk a little bit about the conversation between Lulu and Charlotte. Lulu told her, I got some news where your dad is concerned. It looks like Brennan is moving him closer to the States, to a prison in the state somewhere. Charlotte says, do we know where? She says, no. She says, he's moving my dad closer because he wants more information out of him. And Lulu said, yes. And so she says, but Charlotte, that'll give you more of an opportunity to see your dad more. How do you feel about that? She said, I always want to see my dad. I feel good about it. But the only reason this opportunity is coming up is Brennan wants information from him. And Lulu said, but see, but me as your mother, I have to look at every angle and I have to make sure that I'm keeping you safe. And so Charlotte said, Mom, my dad always has my safety in mind. When he felt things got too dangerous, when he and I were on the run, he sent me to you. He says, my dad would never let me come see him if it's going to put me in danger. She says, and just like you said, because so Lulu says, yeah, but now that he's closer, some of his other enemies might now be trying to use you as leverage. And so Charlotte said, well, then him giving Jack Brennan information works in my favor because my father has value to the WSB. And which means they're going to do everything they can to keep me safe. And so Lulu looked at her. She goes, I forget how mature and astute you are. She says, but here's the other caveat to that. Charlotte, your father only has so much information. And once Jack gets all of the information from Valentine, Valentine will no longer be valuable to the WSB. And neither will you. And Charlotte just looked at her. She goes, and who's going to protect you then? And Charlotte didn't, dispute it. She kind of gave her something to think about, like, well, Papa better not tell him everything. Papa better keep some aces in his back pocket. because that's true. But guess what? We all know Valentine gonna be out before then. He gonna be ahead of the WSB again, with immunity. Now, Carly goes to see him as, fake identity as his lawyer. And he sits down and he goes, I didn't think I was gonna be getting a visit from my lawyer so soon, Miss whatever he said her name was. And she says, I've got an update. He says, that was fast. She says, you're gonna be moved to a prison in the States where you could be closer to your daughter. He said, uh, are you sure about that? She goes, Jack's working on it right now. He said, and how'd that happen? She said, well, I mentioned to him that he could get more information out of you if he kept giving you what he wanted, which was to see your daughter. And I mentioned that perhaps if you were closer in the States, he could expedite things to get what he wants. He goes, okay, now this is telling me two things. One, Jack's weakness is truly you. And then I forgot what he said the second one was. In Comment Corner, mention right what Valentine said was the second weakness or the second thing that was in Carly's favor, right? And so he said, but Carly, now that I see the influence you have over Jack, I need you to be super vigilant. And she says, what are you talking about? He said, Carly, you cannot make any mistakes. None. He says, because now Jack is going to be looking at everything you tell him. He's going to analyze things. And if he catches any inconsistency or discrepancy, it's over. Jack will eliminate anyone he feels is getting in the way of his operation. And that means he's going to turn on you. She says, you think what? What? You telling me you think Jack will try to, eliminate me? He goes, oh, no, no, not you, Carly. He's going to eliminate somebody you love. He knows that would hurt you more. She looked at him. She said, like Jocelyn. He says, oh, yeah, like Jocelyn. He will make sure your daughter is transferred to some God-forsaken place and you'll never see her again. And you won't know if she's dead or alive. And you really have to be vigilant because he cannot know that you and I are involved. Because what he will do is take my daughter and put her into some witness protection program under the guise of keeping her safe. And I can't have that. So this is no operation to be taken lightly, Carly. This is some serious, serious business that we're doing. And she goes, oh, I will get this job done. Jack Brennan has looked me in my face and he has lied to me. And he continues to put my daughter in danger. So, oh yeah, I know how to see this through and I won't get caught. And I'm thinking, I almost believe that, Carly, but you always slip up somehow. The only time she didn't was, remember when she had to take over Sunny's organization and she had to go into the meeting with the five bosses and she had to work with Britt and I mean Frank, where's Frank? That bodyguard Frank was good. And Carly held her own, even when it came to having to marry Jason and the whole nine yards. So, okay, maybe I'm thinking the old Carly will screw up everything. But when push came to shove, this new Carly, she has gotten the job done. So let's see how much she gets the job done here. But that's it, everybody. That is it. Nothing else happened. Like I said, it was definitely a fill-in day today. I'm going to go to my trusty dusty stopwatch and get a little comment corner in. Okay, I'm going to start from the bottom up today. And it is with black, purple, turquoise. So I'll read a paragraph of yours. I have no complaints with Brit blackmailing Poodle Puff. That's cute. Watch her keep this from Curtis, then try to shift the blame to Jordan once again while she's in another man's bed. Her ex, for the umpteenth time or less. And still will try to spin it to make her look like the villain here. Yep, she'll say it's all Jordan's fault. And she's not. Busybody, and the fact that she has no way, is in no position to tell about her pregnancy or not. Portia has zero moral ground at all in this situation. And most certainly neither does Isaiah, the second big time hypocrite, like his current secret main squeeze. That is so true. But he'll sure jump in front of Curtis, right? Who you look at? Don't go in there and upset Portia. Don't do nothing. That'll get Portia in trouble. Look bad on Portia, right? Let's see. I can't wait for both Curtis and Trina to find out about her affair. Firstly, and secondly, it also comes out come out that most likely he is not the father of the baby, but Dr. Gannon is. I don't believe Trina is his either. Well, they did have a DNA test with Trina. CD says, Daily Recap Lady, no more Pajama Pascal nickname. Oh no. What about Turncoat Pascal? See, I need some peas, you know? I'll think of something, right? I'll think of something. And then Oki, I love the way you gave me the phonetic way to say your name. Oki says we need something with alterations. I know, right? I need something. I'll think of something. Because he doesn't wear pastels. It could be pastel, but Pascal, but no. Melody says Pajama Pascal has clothes on. I know, butlers, suit and tie. DB says someone will push him over the balcony, ooh, or his new stay of his new stay. That would be interesting. That could be the way he ends that parapet or it people bite the dust on that all the time. And then Oki says to DB, I hope not. I like Pajama Pascal. If Drew can be in our scene, Jammy Skull, Jammy Skull can stay. That's funny. Jammy Skull. I didn't know you even talked about Pajama Pascal. Dacia says it's Tracy, not Alexis. Okay, look, I'm gonna mix up some names from time to time, but I'm happy you said it's Tracy, not Alexis. But what you did was you didn't let anybody read in this comment know. Like, what scene was I talking about that I said Alexis when it was Tracy? You should have said it's Tracy, not Alexis, when blah, blah, blah was said. Then we all would know, right? And Black Sun says, "Yeah, we figured that out. Thank you. She she's allowed to make a mistake. Thank you, Black Sun. Look, I am closer. Well, not quite. I was going to say 70 and 65, but I'm actually still closer to 65 and 70. I do make some mistakes. And then Oki said to Black Sun, I meant she only she only takes time out of the day to give us her thoughts, opinions, and complete with fire expressions. You know what? It's because I love GH. And today it was just filler, but that's okay. Katie says, I think I heard Jane Elliott was sick, which is why she's retiring to address her health issues. I could believe it. It's put a strain on her. She never stays on GH for too long. She's always in and out. And then Oki says, is it a reputable source? Because I swear some of the YouTube sources are laughable. That's true. We don't know if that is the case or not, and neither do I. But, at least we know, Katie, and you put this out on Comment Corner, if in fact it turns out to be true. Then Melody says, I wanted the Martin drugging Ronnie to come out. Did he tell Laura about that? And then Krista said, nope. No, he did not tell Laura about that one bit. And I didn't like that either. I didn't like that at all. And then last comment is from Dacia, says, I don't think that Ronnie wait, isn't Monica's long lost sister. She's Tracy's long lost sister. They don't know it. That's funny. And then Krista said, nope, no, she's not. She's Monica's long lost sister. She could end up one day if they decided to write it that way, being say Tracy's sister of the heart, right? But no, she's definitely Monica's sister. All right, everybody, that is it. That's it. I'll be back on Monday with another daily recap of General Hospital.